Welcome to Telegeography Explains the Internet, the show that explores the business behind all of the ways humans stay connected around the world. I'm your host, Greg Bryan, and my guests today are Philippe Millet, founder and chairman of the i3 Forum, and Mike Lawrence, director of business intelligence, operations, and transformation at Tata Communications. They're both here to talk about the i3 Forum and the work they do with us at Telegeography on our Insights tool, tracking and analyzing international voice services. So if you're not familiar with the i3 Forum, it is a nonprofit industry body focused on enabling and accelerating transformation across the international carrier ecosystem. That is the language directly from their site, so feel free to pop over there if you want to understand more. And also, Philippe will explain more about why he founded the forum and how they operate. But the upshot is that its members develop, curate, and share practical recommendations and actionable solutions by the carriers for addressing various challenges in the industry. So then Mike joined me specifically as a member of the forum who uses the Insights tool to talk about that tool and its development with us here at Telegeography. So basically, international carriers, which generally includes those that carry 100 million plus international voice non-fraudulent minutes, that's an important piece that Mike gets into there, can upload their voice traffic data into a system operated by us here at Telegeography. Now, all of those data are anonymized and aggregated, and then participants can compare their own data against all of the other participants. You don't even need to be a member of the i3 Forum to participate in this and get access to the tool. But I found this to be a really interesting companion episode to my recent show with fellow telegeographer Paul Brodsky, where we talked about the big picture of the voice business out there, but this got more into the details, as from Mike especially, of operating in the international voice market today and what kind of metrics are useful to measure and seek out success in that market. So I hope you enjoy. Thanks. Okay, welcome to the show, Philippe.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. We had some difficulty getting here, but we're here, and that's all that matters. So, all right. So I just thought real quick, we'll start with a brief background on yourself and how that sort of led to you to ultimately founding the i3 Forum.
Yes, well, thanks. I created the i3 Forum, I think it was in 2007, so that's like 15 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
As a tool for my job, I was heading up marketing and business management for Orange International Carrier at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was really, necessary to get the industry together so that we could work together on something that I knew was going to happen and we wanted to happen fast, which was the transition from TDM to IP. Interconnections, you can't do that on your own. You need your partners to agree and make it happen quickly. So we needed to collaborate to make that happen. And it proved a pretty good idea, I think, in the sense that we did have an impact on the transition to IP for a lot of carriers, whether they were members or not members. One of the principles of this organization is that it's not a club. We don't work for members. The members work for the industry because it's in everybody's best interest, including the members' interest, of course. So it worked well, and we kept working on a number of issues that again needed industry collaboration. And one of those issues was fraud, for instance, the fight against fraud for voice. Right. We were very much voice focused in the beginning, but we started looking at a number of other things. One of the things we did with you guys in Telegeography was building Insights, which is again a tool that requires collaboration for market benchmarking, market trending, where you need to trust each other and you need a partner in the middle, which is Telegeography in this case, to make it work. So a number of things, and yeah, personally, I'm still technically with Orange, but I'm more like semi-retired now.
Gotcha. It's a good position to be in. So a lot of your time goes to the i3 Forum then, more so than your previous sort of day job?
Yes, exactly. I have a lot more
Hmm.
time now, and we're doing this now with Chris Show. We used to be with Tata Communications as well.
Hmm.
A team plus, all the all the people on the board of the I3 Forum, all the people working in the work groups. So I mean, there's like no staff. It's not like a structure that needs
Right,
to
right.
purpose and then a budget. It's really collaboration again.
Yeah, so it's really sort of by carriers for carriers rather than becoming its own sort of beast itself. It remains maybe truer to the purpose in that sense, right? Because it's just carriers donating their time to make their industry sort of work more fluidly.
Absolutely. I think we've always been very careful not to create a structure that would, have a life of itself
Right.
and
Then
then
it gets its own needs, its own desire to
exactly.
carry forward, and yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
So it's all very dependent on the time and effort and expertise and vision of all the participants, whether they're working in the work groups, at the board, etc. And if I can use this to call for
Oh,
um,
that's what you're here for. So
right.
call to action away. Definitely. Why should carriers participate in the I3 forum?
Yes. We have a bunch of great people working on many different aspects, and we're going to get even bigger in terms of I guess helping the industry restore trust in international communications by and large, not just
Hmm.
voice, of course. SMS, KYC, fighting fraud, robocalling, all those things. Again, if the industry doesn't get its act together and we don't work together, we're not going anywhere.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we have a great team, great people. We need more. We need more people, more members, more diversity in the sense that not only men, women, but also more different
Geographic.
types of
Yeah.
geographic. We're pretty good in terms of geography.
Hmm.
It's really in terms of the different types of stakeholders. We have a
Hmm.
lot of the traditional international carriers who are looking for aggregators, platform providers, CPaaS guys. I mean,
I
the
see. I
whole,
see.
so that
So
we can cover a broader range.
expanding
Yes,
beyond the sort of traditional telco into other folks that work in the voice business and have the same kind of stakes in the marketplace, but maybe slightly different business models.
exactly. And we share the same pressing issue now, which is what do we tell the regulators? What do we tell the NRAs when they get to us
Mm-hmm.
and say you need to do this and this and that so that you can send calls to my country? And everybody's got its own idea, and it's getting very complicated.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, we need to work together, and that's part of the bigger plan we have. Plus, we need people. We need the right people. We have a
Mm.
lot of very good people again on the board in the work groups, doing a lot of great work. We need more. We need more. And so it's again, I keep saying this, but it's all about the people, people
Yeah.
who get it, who understand the value of collaboration, and who bring their vision, their expertise, but also their understanding of yes,
Hmm.
working together and how that brings good
Right.
things for.
So even maybe within an organization that is a member of the I3 forum, there's a need to encourage folks working in different roles within those organizations to do more with the I3 forum, essentially, right?
Absolutely. Contribute. Come with your issues. Talk to your colleagues, your peers in the industry. Bring up new problems, new ideas, new
Mhm.
visions. If you could make it happen on your own, please do it
Yeah.
on your own.
Yeah.
A lot of the things that you
Yeah.
want to do depend on what the others will do, I
Right.
think.
Right.
So come to the active forum and talk about it, and let's see if together we can work on it. Again,
Hmm.
it's not the structure by itself. We don't have like this bunch of experts that are sitting in an office answering your questions. It's
Right.
working with your peers and your colleagues in the industry. We've done a number of amazing things so far, and big plans for the future. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So in the rest of the show, I'm talking to Mike Lawrence from Tata Communications about specifically the insights tool that you guys built with telegeography. But there is more to the I3 forum than that. All these things you've been talking about, especially fraud and mitigation and whatnot. But that whatever issues come from the carriers can be a part of the I3 forum, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. We're working on different aspects. Insights is a big one,
Hmm.
and again, with the team in telegeography, it's really good. And we've got big plans to expand it maybe beyond just voice. So working on this, working on the fight against fraud for voice, but also for messaging. We just started a work group.
As a consumer, I appreciate that.
I'm sure.
50% of my calls and texts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, at the same time, we're trying to be extremely open and careful not to duplicate any work done by any other organization in the industry. People at the MEF, for instance, people at GLS, people. I mean, there's lots of people working on different aspects of the issue.
I'm having Dario Betty from MEF on the podcast in a couple of weeks here. So yeah,
we're talking to him in a couple of days.
Yeah.
So no, we're really trying to work together. We're all covering different angles, different aspects. So it all complements each other. We're working on the numbering plan, which is something that nobody ever talks about, which is one of the foundations of this whole industry. And what number do I call? And is that number, is that number calling me legit? Is it real? If I'm buying anything, if I'm selling anything, is this fraud? Is it legit? Is it? So that takes a lot of work. It's extremely complicated, and we have big plans there as well. Again, all different pieces of the puzzle to hopefully help this industry restore trust and communications.
Right. So ultimately, even though this is some work for the members, it's for the purpose of making their companies work better and more profitably, hopefully, right? So
yeah, if one day you're barred from sending calls to the US,
that's a big problem. Yeah, absolutely.
So you can try and you should try and do whatever you can on your own to resolve this, but that's probably not enough. And there's the US, there's Europe, there's different flavors of all this everywhere. Australia. I mean, we need to work as the carriers, the aggregators, the telecom guys, I guess, or communications guys in the middle. We need to work together and go to the NRAs with a proposal, something that holds water, and say, hey, let's do this together. Work with you. We work together. Come with a solution that works for everyone and doesn't make our lives miserable.
Right.
And in the end, that would hurt the consumer, you and I. As well. So
yeah. Ultimately, sort of the what's good for you guys is in most cases what's good for the consumer, because you have to have the consumer to have a business, right? So
well, definitely. I mean, we thrive on what consumers want and do. So that's the goal. Again, I really want to insist on this notion that the IT Reform is not a club. We don't work for the members just for the members to gain some kind of a edge or advantage over whoever. This is really because we think that those issues, they need to be addressed collectively, because that's the only way we can actually fix it. Of course, if you are part of the people trying to fix this issue, you can influence and make sure that your vision of how to fix it is heard, at least.
Absolutely.
But that's how it benefits you. But
great.
It's broader than this.
Right, absolutely. Excellent. Well, I think you've made a great case for the IT Forum. If folks listening are interested, how can they find you and the forum and keep up with your work?
Very easy. i3forum.org, our websites. We have a LinkedIn page. All the contact, forms and stuff are there. So that's probably the easiest way to get in touch with us. Excellent. And again, people, come work with us for yourselves.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Philippe, for talking about that. Like I said, we're going to also talk to Mike Lawrence about the more specific use of the Insights tool. But I really appreciate the kind of rundown and call to action. So everybody listening who's operating in that world, give it some thought if you're not already a member.
Thank you, Greg. And again, thanks to Telegeography.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. Okay, welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks so much for having me.
Wonderful. I'm glad you could join us. I thought we'd just start out with a brief introduction of what you do at Tata and kind of how you got there on your career in telecom.
Sure. Yeah. So my group handles business intelligence, operations, and transformation. So really, we focus on providing the data analytics for our commercial teams,
Hmm.
and we also handle the operations side of things in terms of pricing, costing for voice and messaging services within Tata. And then lastly, we handle all of the systems evolution planning, basically the product management, solutions management for that, in terms of how we operate, as well as customer portals and so forth like that.
Hmm.
We handle kind of the PMO for that in terms of planning through execution.
So you're kind of like an analyst, right? So
Correct.
we
Correct.
we, uh,
Yep.
we have more similar jobs than a lot of the people that I talk to on the show. Certainly. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I've been with Tata for quite some time. I've been in telecom since 1999.
Hmm.
Started out with ITXC Corporation, which was a voice over IP company way back in the startup days of the internet.
Hmm.
Through many mergers and acquisitions, through Teleglobe, through VSNL, have stayed with Tata Communications all that time. Various roles in PMO, solutions management, product management, and
Hmm.
a lot of the operations side of the house. So I've gotten the opportunity to wear a lot of hats,
Hmm.
which has certainly been fun, but certainly finding my passion more in the digital transformation and the data analytics side of the house.
Right. Right. So is your purview kind of beyond what we'll be talking about today with voice communications to more general digital transformation stuff as well?
Correct. Yeah. So
Excellent.
we've been getting into that. I mean, we're kind of our group is more around usage based services. So we'll
Hmm.
handle messaging, voice, other services that have kind of a per usage or transactional basis,
Right.
where we try to really optimize the way we do business. So we've been able to do a lot of streamlining of our systems to be able to really manage the quite a quite an impressive amount of transactions with a
Hmm.
very lean group of people.
Right.
A lot of them have been in the organization for quite some time, so it's been a huge advantage there. But that transformation has really evolved, even in the last 4 or 5 years, has been pretty amazing at our company.
Well, that's probably key to staying alive in the voice business now, right? Is managing your overheads, right? So,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Yep, margins getting thinner and thinner. So
Absolutely, yeah. All right, so I think we'll jump right into kind of the main topic of today. So as I mentioned in my introduction, talking about the partnership between i3 Forum and telegeography and what we've been working on together. But first, I might just ask you sort of how Tata got involved in the i3 Forum originally.
yeah, I think going back to the Teleglobe days, I believe,
All the way, okay,
yeah,
yeah.
all the way back to Teleglobe days. I know Christian Michaud was a huge part
Hmm.
of the I3 forum, and we had a lot of folks involved in the various work groups that I3 has, including the fraud management groups, as well as a lot of the early days of insights, basically in terms of a concept and in terms of how
Right.
we tried to or we all expressed the need for this benchmarking data aggregated at some level, and we all knew we couldn't do it, so we kind of leaned on I3 to start that investigation, and that's kind of what led us towards telegeography. And obviously, you guys have a vast amount of experience in terms of aggregation of data, and are the obvious leader in um, in the voice, at least from the voice side that I've seen, and I know in
Hmm.
various other areas, but kind of the go-to place for information on voice at an aggregated level. So I
Well,
just
it's,
got
it's
that
always great
natural.
when I can get someone else to say that, right? That's
No, it's
well,
been. I mean, we've been telegeography subscribers for a long time. So
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's funny because at telegeography, that's the foundation of what we are. The very first thing that we ever did. I have spent 0 minutes of my 17-year long career there working on voice, but yeah,
we
it's
complement
gotten
each
in,
other well then,
yeah, gotten
because
into
I
me
spent a lot of time
through
in voice.
osmosis. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. All right. So the i3 forum had this idea for better data on voice metrics. You came to telegeography. What exactly were you looking for in terms of building the insights tool?
Yeah. So really, we had the base of telegeography's data, which was, aggregated at a country level, and it covered volume, and it covered
Mhm.
a portion around financials in terms of revenue, also at a very high level.
Yeah, for
And what
just
we
like
were looking
termination of
for,
wholesale
yeah,
minutes and things like that,
exactly,
right?
exactly. And what we were looking for was that one level deeper.
Hmm.
Also, with maybe some idea of the various carriers that are out there and how they're handling it. So we got a little bit more information around, when it came to going down to the fixed and the mobile level of the country, as well as splitting it out by the various service levels. In voice, there is kind of a quality A and a quality B
Hmm.
when it comes to destinations. So, where quality A is, always there, calling line identification is always available. And where you have quality B, which is a little bit of a cheaper route and may have some less features and functionality to it. And what we've noticed, or what we knew was, and everybody in the industry knew this, was that this was out there and folks were doing it, but we really couldn't compare ourselves well because a lot of folks were saying, well, that was my A and this is my B, and you're
Hmm.
comparing apples and oranges. So one of the key things for us was to be able to split that out by quality level, which is why we kind of came to I3 and then subsequently telegeography
Hmm.
to build that out a little bit further. In addition
Yeah.
to really getting that granularity level of fixed and mobile by carrier as well, and I'll explain that by carrier a little bit later. But
Hmm. No, that's really interesting, and I think that it's a good model for how these things come together from a market research standpoint, right? Or
yeah,
from a business intelligence operation and transformation standpoint, right? So because when you have sort of that buy-in of everyone working together, you can get to deeper levels of knowledge than if I'm in the position of just sort of saying, going out there into contexts that I know and saying you'll remain anonymous and you
right,
don't know who else is participating. And there's always some hesitation there from my end of telegeography. A project that I spearheaded many years ago was local access sourcing data, right? Where we originally
sure,
started with a group like this, where they said, hey, we don't mind talking to each other because it's really interesting to get insights from how a sourcing team at my competitor is working. That helps me understand my own market better. So I would encourage, definitely the buy into this kind of thing strengthens everybody in the market. It's
absolutely.
not something that you're giving away kind of secrets or whatever.
Yeah, there was definitely an apprehension from a lot of the carriers that are current members of
Hmm.
the Insights tool in terms of sharing that data.
Hmm.
But two things: one, I think the comfort eventually grew when we said that somebody like telegeography was going to be involved, and that that data would be safeguarded, and also the design of the system is so very well done that it really gives you can't find out a carrier's information. You can find out the aggregate, and you can also find out kind of in a I guess number way of which carriers are doing what, but that doesn't give you who they are.
Hmm. Right.
So it's a
Right.
nice, the benchmarking tool is a nice, specifically within the tool itself, breaks down a given destination, and you can actually see the various trend lines for like ASR over the last 2 years, answer
Hmm.
seizure ratio
Hmm.
for the last 2 years for a given destination. And you can see all of the individual carriers, not by name, but just by lines.
Right.
And it doesn't really give you that, you're not going to be able to figure out anything from that information. So once that was there,
Hmm.
everyone kind of breathed a sigh of relief and said, yeah, this is something that we can do. And it's very valuable for us
Right.
without, with having some privacy there.
Yeah, yeah, that's the key to buy-in and things like this is finding that right level of more detail without exposing too much, basically.
Yes.
So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Excellent. So let's talk a little bit specifically about the Insights tool.
Mhm.
I think first it would be whose data can be included. Is there anyone's data who couldn't be included? I just did an episode on our telegeography voice research with my colleague Paul Brodsky, who I'm sure you've talked to
Yep.
before, and a lot of what we had to talk about there was how the OTT market has changed voice. I think we're not talking about OTT at all here. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah, this is more carrier based. There are some carriers that are, more enterprise related, or they can share their enterprise data, and that's what I was going to refer to here. One of the recent developments within the tool was breaking out a third level of, as I said, kind of the wholesale A and the wholesale B quality. The third level is a direct, which is more of an enterprise level of information that I think most of the carriers provide now. Philippe could talk better to that, but the quality levels are something where that expands kind of the who can be included really, but it's really a wholesale based or a carrier based tool where you can also share your enterprise level information. They've just added a third level of detail in terms of quality, where it was quality A wholesale, quality B wholesale, and now there's a direct as well, which a lot of carriers have provided their input on. So this is more for those folks that are very heavily into the voice industry and are very looking for that detailed information. And I'll talk about that with the,
Right.
the quality levels that we have and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'm a carrier who's interested in what you're
Mhm.
getting out of insights, and I'm looking to, even if I'm already in the i3 forum or need to join, whatever the case may be, looking to participate so that I can get those insights out for myself. What do you need from me? Like what data are participants providing that then get turned into the tool that you've been describing?
Yes. So really, where the information comes in now is it's at a monthly basis. So the providers each month will generate their own reports that it's been kind of templatized by Telegeography i3 to include certain information at what level. We'll aggregate that up. We'll also exclude what we share between the carriers, which is a really interesting distinction because it prevents the double counting. And Philippe would probably talk to that a bit more as well. But the nice part about it is once that information is extracted or removed, we have a pretty pure view into that information. Across the carriers. So we provide, and what we provide in terms of that is obviously volume, the revenue, the margin percentage, and when it comes to quality information, they ask for answer bid ratio, answer seizure ratio, ABR, ASR, calling line identification, whether or not the route supports that, or CLI, and roaming information as well. Finally, I believe the one I missed was NER, network efficiency ratio, which I did miss one more, which provides how productive the network is basically, and then answer. I'm sorry, ACD. I didn't mention average call duration or average
Gotcha.
length of call, or ALOC is what some people call it, but.
Mm-hmm. That is half the battle here, right? Is just penetrating the litany, the alphabet
Acronyms.
soup. Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was trying to make sure
Yeah.
I covered it in both ways because some people
Mhm.
refer to it as ALOC and some people call
Right.
it ACD. But that information is provided monthly to Telegeography. They aggregate all the data, populate the tool, and then each month we have an update that comes out, which just came out recently. And you see the newest month's worth of data provided at all those metrics level. And the nice thing
Gotcha.
is you can split that out regionally, by country,
Mhm.
and you go into there's a whole host of individual reports that are available as well in a more tabular format that you can populate, that you can download for larger consumption than in the
Mhm.
tool itself.
Gotcha. So to kind of give like that top level summary, you're looking at call volumes,
Correct.
call price / revenue, and then
Yep.
call quality essentially. So how well you're delivering on connecting calls and things like that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Excellent.
Yep.
And so that being the data that goes in, I assume that's sort of like what the goal is in terms of what comes out is to compare your own internal metrics on these things to what the rest of the market is doing.
That's correct. And the nice thing about it is you really can be able to give kind of an example when you can compare yourself against everybody else is you can select your quality level and make sure that you're only looking at the quality A or the higher level service. And then you can take away and see that, okay, maybe I am, fifth or sixth in volume, but I am maybe first or second in ARPM. From a higher point of view, I guess, to look at it that way. So I'm charging a lot more than everybody else, average revenue per minute, for ARPM.
Right.
And with that, I may be able to price a bit lower to raise my rank within the volume range, for example. So more throughput, which, that is something that we really never really had before. And now our commercial management teams can get in there and really decide what they want to do on a given route, and be able to kind of be a bit more flexible with their pricing and have a bit more validation of their assumptions. Because that's the biggest thing that in my mind that Insights has given us is, before it was, we thought, this, everything we did for planning was, we think it's like this. And, we have a little bit of information, but we don't really have anything concrete. This now gives us concrete information that says, yeah, here's where we are in comparison to everybody else.
Right.
And, and here's probably why we're there. Because you can then go into, with my volume, I'm down in the lower levels. I can look at my price, of course, but I can also flip down and look at my quality and say, I can see that we are lower on ASR and therefore we need to, increase our supply or improve our supply, and potentially, maybe look at our customer profiles even.
So this is interesting. If we pull to a sort of academic perspective, there's a little bit of Econ 101 here of like you have direct inputs to your supply demand curve and the quantity demanded versus the price, right? But also that perennial problem in economics of imperfect information. Of course, there is no perfect information, but you're a lot steps closer to making decision making with what economists dream that people have. Right? So,
exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're always, our commercial management teams are always, trying, experimenting with routes and so forth, but giving them this information gives them that ability to kind of, say, okay, we know somebody's doing this at this level, we can get there. So
what does participation look like in terms of maybe the percentage, the universe of carriers that would fit into this database versus those who have started providing data?
Yes. So the group is a good size of the market now, and again, I couldn't give you a good percentage.
Yeah, and we probably don't want to, right? So
Sure,
I have the same thing in my pricing research that I sort of do pretty well, but I'm not going to tell you it's 87% or something like that, right? Yeah.
Yeah. No. The nice part about it is we've got a good cross section of people in the different markets, and really in the different geographies as well.
Right.
Where we've got folks key, we've got Asia, we've got Europe well handled as well as the Americas. So it's really nice to be able to when we look at this data, we're not saying, but this is all missing. So that's the nice part about it is we've got a good cross section of folks that are participating. And the really nice part about it is that the group has embraced getting this data in on time, so that we never have a lag, which is a real what used to be a real challenge with other services that we provide is that some folks just didn't get it, and then we get partial information, and then you're also working off of it's partial information. Did I know that because I saw a drop here? Did I make a business decision because of that drop I saw, and then find out that it was actually because the data wasn't updated?
Right.
So that's the nice part about it is the carriers are all very committed to this in terms of keeping it fresh and updated.
And there's a technical aspect of that too, right? Are there APIs set up so that this is all done automatically?
One of the nice things, that I was going to mention is we've managed to, with our business intelligence group, we've managed to pull this data down from Insights and be able to literally import it into our daily reporting. It's more at the monthly level, but we can bring it into our daily reports that actually show here's your benchmarks. So the nice part about it is these APIs are so easy to use that we can literally just remove the data quickly from Insights and be able to populate all of our reports nice and easy. And in addition to having the tool itself, right? I mean, folks can go out to the tool anytime they want and see whatever level of detail they want. But this bringing it into our reports and we bring it into kind of a Power BI view for folks to be able to slice and dice how they want, which is extremely valuable.
Absolutely. In so many places in the industry and just more broadly IT in general, of course, that the power of APIs when properly set up, right,
Yes.
has just become immensely important. I think, for everything from network automation to business intelligence and all that sort of thing. It seems to me, though, from where I sit watching that happen, right, that one of the great difficulties is initially setting it up. I know you probably only speak to Tata's experience here, maybe conversations with some of the other participants, but was there a lot of work on your side to sort of get your internal data aligned to what we were collectively working on with telegeography and the i3 forum?
Yeah, luckily for our experience, we really our reporting and our systems have historically been very, very strong, but also in the sense of updated and kind of stayed with the times. So we were really fortunate that it was a relatively easy lift for us. But some other carriers, certainly had some issues. But the nice part about it is the templates that Insights provides makes it pretty easy to get this data out. There could be the first couple months. I know a couple of the carriers mentioned that they struggled the first couple months getting their data out of their their internal systems, but the i3 the Insights tool team actually was extremely helpful to them in terms of assisting them along the way. So they'll help you out for sure.
Yeah, that's key. That's key, right? And
nice.
Like you mentioned, like having a template that's been molded over time to how these things are kept, and that's really key for us as the analyst firm, right? Is that we don't know, right? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So working collaboratively across a bunch of different platforms, I think, is really useful. One of the things I do in my day job is our enterprise network benchmarking practice, and when I'm on a call with a big multinational, I want to benchmark my WAN spend. Okay, what do you have? I don't know.
Right.
I think that having this sort of collective group come together and talk about what do we have and how can we share it, I think is really key to facilitating that process. So,
absolutely.
All right, now, Mike, I want to talk a little bit about, so we've talked about the data that go into the tool, the data that come out of it, the process there. What have you learned about the voice market from the tool? What are the trends in the, and again, my colleague Paul Brodsky and I talked about this from the sort of wholesale international termination kind of market. But what are you seeing that you think is useful to your job in business intelligence on the carrier side?
Yeah, so a lot of the takeaways we've found are destination based, obviously, but from a global point of view, the one that seems pretty obvious is the migration to mobile, which you would expect from fixed, or I should say that the split expanding to more mobile than fixed. But the interesting thing is the volumes overall, for voice, while everyone has said that there has been this huge decline, has actually been quite tempered, I think, at least from what the data we've seen from Insights and the other carriers as well. Obviously, the decline in I think I looked at some of the numbers, and I think fixed the decline like 24% in the last 2 years. But mobile was only about 5 or 10. Sorry, 5 or 6. I said 5 or 10, but which was surprising to see, because you understand that obviously with the internet and so forth, and the ability to make calls in various other ways as we're doing right now. But mobile still lives, as we found out when we tried to record this the first time. We had to pick up a phone and call somebody. So
I had to dial 10 digits. It was,
right, exactly. What is that again? Right.
Yeah.
But so that was that's an obvious one that you see over time. But the ability to split that out by country and by region is also very interesting. We've seen the origination-based costing impact. As an example for the United Kingdom, that you can see the volumes vary there as well, but you can also see the revenues increase just given the fact that there is this new charge that is being involved. And the nice part about that is you can kind of, with the tool, you can kind of see, not who, but you can see the other carriers and how they've reacted to it. Not in obviously with their names, but by them and individually. And then, some of the things that you didn't expect to see was, the decline in some of these countries due to market shifts in terms of volumes, with, Pakistan declining 40% and so forth in volumes in just 1 year, actually, and India as well. But these market shifts, obviously, ebb and flow. But the nice part about it is being able to see this is you can set yourself up to react to that by having that information, which is, we found it to be, as I said, extremely valuable. And the fact that we can integrate it into our reporting has been really helpful.
All right, I got to ask one kind of obvious question here, which is I would assume, and I say all the time, that we saw a pretty big fall in desktop phone usage after COVID. Have you clearly, Insights was in place before that hit, so you're in a position to see how that really materialized. You mentioned 24%, but I mean, do you attribute that to a jump from COVID, or was that continuing with what the long-term trend already was?
Yeah, the COVID impact was more was more on the value-added services side. So the ITFSs and LNSs increased, obviously, in that sense, because people were migrating there. We did see the drop, but we have seen a recovery since then as well, since the COVID days, which was also a nice thing to have. Was this tool during COVID was really interesting to have as well because of the swings, right? I mean, you didn't expect to see this level of I guess extremes. It was the point to put it,
right?
And how you reacted to it was going to be interesting. And we had this extra data point that not a lot of other carriers had when it comes to Insights.
Excellent, yeah. And then another question. This might be a little sort of academic, but via this data, do you see at the country level certain things about the different economies of those countries, almost like a human geography question, right? That maybe between, say, since it's Tata, India, and the UK, can you see certain trends about demographics and economic ties and whatnot in the data?
Absolutely, that's where we triangulate the information with the telegeography information, because telegeography does a really great job of the inbound, outbound views of where the countries send their traffic and so forth, and that helps us build our kind of our market plans for those destinations.
Right.
We've also seen the huge increase in revenue in Africa, like 23% within the last year, as that country, as that region kind of in general grows, and it gives you an idea, it gives you an area to focus on, like I said, with actual data points that say, others are experiencing this as well, and you can kind of take advantage as well. So,
yeah, I actually did an episode a little while ago with a guy from Wahid Adam, who's from an African carrier and is on the show with MEF, not being the Metro Ethernet forum, but the mobile ecosystem forum, right?
Yes.
And that was all about how mobile has been extremely strong growth in Africa because they were missing wireline infrastructure and all that sort of thing. So I definitely think you can see some of that too. And you mentioned that the decline in mobile has been much less than the decline in traditional sort of wired service, even though there are still OTT mobile services like WhatsApp or whatever, right? That one could use alternatives to, but you still see a lot of people using those, digit dialing still, right?
Correct. So, it's surprising how how we fall back to those ways, a lot, and especially when there's an internet outage, right?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. That. you know, it'll be interesting generationally almost to see those who sort of grew up with everything being packet switched, right,
Yes.
are probably a lot more tolerant of missed dropped packets and that sort of, than those who, when they pick up the phone, expect to have a more or less coherent conversation, right?
Right.
So,
Right. Exactly.
yeah, I think that'll be interesting to watch as that sort of gives way. All right, so I think we kind of wrap up with a really clear understanding. Thanks for that, Mike, about what you're getting out of this, what you're doing it for. Why should anyone who's at a carrier listening to this join the i3 forum and or contribute their data to insights beyond, of course, the reasons you've already given, right?
Yeah. So I'll start with the i3 forum itself, and
Mm-hmm.
the organization has been, for us, vital for us to really kind of get an idea of what not necessarily individual carriers are doing, but what the community is doing, and what we can do in terms of the various work groups that they're focused on. They've got a handful of initiatives that we've been heavily involved in, fraud being one, in terms of what folks are experiencing. We're part of these work groups. We can take out of this information. This is what everyone else is experiencing. We could see that as an example for fraud, the Wangiri issues that they're having, and all of the various players that they've seen that have experienced this. Coming out of that, we come up with solutions for how we're battling it each, and we each talk about our solutions in the work groups, and that drives another conversation or another idea, or sparks another idea, I should say, where you could bring that back to your strategy within your company. So
Right.
That's what we found it more valuable for, is for our planning, for how we strategize around how we're going to handle fraud, specifically for that work group. They've got various other work groups that that dive into different subjects around numbering plan,
Right.
and some other areas that we found extremely valuable. So that's why we've been, an i3 forum member for as long as I can remember, and have, um, uh, one of our members is on the board. So why the i3 forum? So why i3 Insights? Again, for my point of view, the amount of data that we deal with internally is I'm sure for every carrier out there, certainly daunting.
Right.
But when it comes to having benchmark data out there for other carriers, there's just nothing else.
Right. Right.
So it helps us validate our assumptions. I mean, everyone goes through destination planning. Everyone goes through coming up with a strategy for how we're going to, grow those destinations, or manage those destinations as optimally as possible.
Right.
And really the ability to have this data and to see how you compare to everybody else in detail. And what I mean by in detail is that breakout that shows you, hey, my average call duration is, much lower than everybody else's, or much higher than everybody else. However you want to, this is how I can react to that. So that is extremely valuable to have for us. And the ability, as I think I said it a couple times, but the ability to use that API to pull it out and bring it into your reporting is just, next level stuff when it comes to, having benchmarks that actually, are, validate a lot of our key assumptions.
Yeah, I mean, just in the data science world in general, the conversation over the last 10 years has been like, okay, there's reams of data. What do we do with it? What's its purpose, right? And I think that this is a great sort of example of an answer to that question. And I would also say that we're very used to, in the telecom industry, the co-opetition kind of model. But I think this is a case where, in a way, it's not even that, because more information about what is happening with the whole industry, I think, is good for any participant in the industry. It's not really giving someone necessarily a competitive advantage overall, maybe on a particular route or country or something like that. But the goal is for the industry to thrive in the world as it exists, right? So
exactly. And like I said, that going backwards from that is what are the pitfalls in the industry as well. And that's where the
Mhm.
I3 forum comes back in. And these work
Well,
groups
like
are
fraud's an easy
hugely
case, right?
valuable.
No one
Exactly.
wants fraud. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You'll keep consumers very happy to attack that problem. Certainly,
Yep.
as all of us are, as consumers, all when we pick up my mobile phone, I'd say like 60% of my rings are
Are
scams.
fraudulent.
Right?
Yep. We've
Yeah,
got the same.
exactly. Excellent. All right. So, how could folks find the i3 forum, or you in particular, if they want to keep up with what you're doing?
Yeah. So the I3 forum obviously had, the site that they have out there is i3forum.org. And the insights tool is outlined there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage everybody to go out there. There's also a new tool that maybe Philippe would talk about as well in terms of i3 forum or i3 forum insights Lite, which
Gotcha.
is a lighter version of that tool.
And so that would be available maybe to folks who are not participating but are still interested in the information.
Correct. And there's a way that they can provide their information, but at a bit of a higher level.
Gotcha.
And a lighter version, basically, which it's just been released. So it's very very excited to have that, because we know a large part of this was folks on the normal platform would say that they thought that they wouldn't be able to provide it as frequently as we needed to, which is monthly. I believe the Insights Lite, and Philippe can correct me if I'm wrong, is a quarterly load, which is a bit more, gives you a little bit more time to get that information in there.
So a little less buy-in, but then still some access to some useful information.
Correct. Yeah. And also on the site, I know that they have a good bit about the various work groups and what they're focused on, and how that the i3 forum in general can help.
Yeah, lots of other areas, not just the Insights tool.
Yep.
Excellent. And then you in particular, can people find you on LinkedIn or something like that?
I'm on LinkedIn under Michael Lawrence. I think PMP is the end of my profile there. But yeah, happy to answer any questions that anybody ever has on that, and look forward to engaging.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining me. This was really informative.
Thank you, Greg. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's always fun to find out more about what my colleagues down the hall when I on the days when I go into the office are actually doing. So that's cool. Yeah.
Yep. Excellent.
Cheers. Thanks. Thanks for listening. Telegeography Explains the Internet comes from the experts here at Telegeography. It's edited and produced by Jane Miller, and it's hosted by me, Greg Bryan. And I also wrote that theme song you're listening to right now. To learn more about our data, jump over to telegeography.com, and we'll see you on the internet.